Feel very confident now. All right. So we did whole business Toastmasters. Greetings, fellow Toastmasters. My name is Kyler Gates. I'll be your Toastmaster for the evening. Today we're going to start off with, well, we're going to go through our different officers, or our different, not called officers, what's the typical term?
Roles.
Roles, that's it. Typical roles. So we're going to first start off with our grammarian. Is our grammarian here today?
Hi, I'm Abdul Majid. I'm the watcher for proper utilization of English language, and I've selected the word which is on top, invocation, as the word. But I know it's a common word, but it's less utilized. So we will see an opportunity how we could use this word in our speeches. And I'm the most user of so I won't be capturing is it part of this role, grammarian? But the counter is separate, right?
Counter focuses on fill words, yes.
True. So I'm not that one, because I won't be able to count myself.
Do you have a definition for the word of the day?
Yeah, invoking something, like if you invoke somebody for some help, or invocation is like invoking somebody or asking somebody.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so next we will move on from our grammarian to our timer.
I'm going to keep the time as well.
All right. And then could you give us an explanation of that role?
Sure. As mentioned here, the green is 5, the yellow is 6, and the red is when we see if we could wind up in next 15 more seconds for main topics, and for answering the table topics, it's I think 100 seconds.
No, a minute.
1 minute. Sorry.
A minute and 30.
1 minute is usual green, so you're good in that. Yellow is when a minute and a half, where you try to wind up, and in red is 2 minutes.
Okay.
2 minutes for and general evaluation is similar. It's 2 minutes and until half minute more.
Awesome, thank
2
you.
and a half and 3.
All right. So next we'll move right along to our general evaluator.
That's me. I'm Diego, the president of the group, and my role is to provide the time for a general evaluation of the meeting, how it went, if it was streamlined, and also a very important part of the meeting is welcoming up the evaluators of the prepared speeches for tonight, because not only is it important for people to take courage and step up to the lectern and to give a prepared speech, but to also hear important feedback on what good habits they should continue to repeat and what bad habits with speech making that they should start focusing on eliminating and letting go. So not only is it important to have experience, it's important to have critiqued experience as well. And that is the primary role of the general evaluator for tonight. Back to you, Kyler.
Thank you. All right, and then finally we have our counter. Okay, Peggy Carey?
Tonight I am a counter. My role is to count words you use when you feel uncomfortable when speaking, such as so, well, like, something like that.
Thank you very much. All righty. Well, with that concludes that section. We'll move on to our first speaker. So our first speaker is going to be, is it still you, Diego?
Yes, sir.
Okay, first speaker is Diego, who will be talking about his experience as a protege.
Oprah Winfrey once described a mentor to be someone who awakens the hope that exists within you always. And I find this to be a very broad definition of what a mentor is, because it sounds like many people in our lives can give us confidence in all sorts of things. Like, for example, my teachers, with the great feedback that I hear back from the exams that I do for chemistry, give me the self-confidence and the hope I have for myself of becoming an environmental chemist. Another example is my parents are a living embodiment of work ethic and discipline and passionate for the work that gives me hope that I will find a career path that I'm passionate in as well. And the problem that I have with such a broad definition of a mentor that Oprah Winfrey specifically gives is I feel it kind of dilutes the more common idea we have of a mentor, of someone in a long-term relationship with someone, preferably or frequently someone in the same profession that they are both engaging in. Like we can imagine if Maurice had a coder or a computer engineer who was his senior, and together those two individuals were meeting on a regular basis and learning about computer engineering craft and skills in the manner like that as well. And when I work with that more specific definition of a mentor, I feel I haven't had that experience yet. I feel I haven't had the common protege experience, and I think that is primarily due to the fact that my career choices and my professional tastes have changed significantly from undergrad and to where I am now. I'm hopeful that in my future PhD program in chemistry, I will be able to have that protege experience with my principal investigator in chemistry. But right now in my accelerated program, I haven't had the opportunity to do research and develop a long-term relationship with a professor in chemistry whose research and interests are also aligned with me as well. So I have yet to experience that protege experience, unfortunately. But I still feel that I recognize the importance of a protege and mentor relationship, especially because I feel that a mentor is really important in the very early moments of childhood, and I would define that as from pre-K up to high school. And I say that because I think those of us in this room tonight belong to a very lucky few group of individuals who made it through high school, because I feel that many of us, including myself, are vulnerable to temptations like drugs or premarital sex and all these adult consequences that are made by kids who I feel don't have that forward-thinking and premeditated mindset that is required for such adult decisions like these types of behaviors that I mentioned. And I feel it is important that we have mentors who come from groups like Big Brothers and Big Sisters or the Boys and Girls Club, who are there to help steer at-risk children and youth away from these very dangerous decisions and consequences that we might be vulnerable to without having access to a mentor or some role model or parental figure who are keeping an eye out and making sure that we don't fall into these pitfalls and traps as well. So again, my fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, I have yet to experience the protege-mentor relationship in my professional career and my future career in environmental chemistry. But I'm confident that if for whatever reason I have a principal investigator who wants me to chart out and make my own mistakes and not have that deep mentorship role that I would expect that many of us in this room have had experience with, I still feel confident that I would be able to come back from these mistakes that I would make as a student in a doctoral program as well. But again, I still recognize how important it is for mentors to exist, and especially exist in the childhood stages that we all go through up through high school, because I think at that age we are very vulnerable to immature decisions, and we have access to adult choices with very adult consequences that can be irreversible mistakes. So those are my reflections on the protege mentorship experience. And I'm going to relinquish, turn back to our Toastmaster for tonight, Kyler. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Diego. I really enjoyed that speech. I liked a lot how you started with the quote from Oprah, but then you kind of challenged it. You had something to start off with, and then you said, well, it's more than that, and I like that a lot. Because it was a good quote to begin with, and then it's like, okay, well, there's some more to this. So I like that. Okay, so we do not have a second speaker scheduled, but if anyone would like to give a pocket speech, the opportunity is there. No pressure, of course. It's just pocket speech would be, it's a little bit shorter, just kind of off the cuff, anything you want to talk about, if you would like to, but of course, no pressure. If no one wants to do a pocket speech, that's okay. We can just transition into table topics. So, table topics?
Good evening, everyone. So our table topics, just in case you don't know, is an improv speech that is 1 to 2 minutes. And I have a little surprise tonight. I have these little questions on a card. So I will ask for a volunteer. You can come and pick a card, and your question will be on the card. And then when you're finished, you can just stick your card in here. All right, Diego?
Yep. Okay, so I pick a, okay.
And then you'll give the speech on the card.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Shall my fellow Toastmasters and our guests, the prompt that I was given for my table topics is, do you have any habits you'd like to give up? I have plenty upon plenty of habits that I would love to let go, because I know that they are holding me back from truly spending the day with meaning and purpose. And primarily, I would say the biggest habit that I need to let go of is internet procrastination. Because I'm all for taking a break and relaxing, but I think how we choose to relax is a very important decision that needs to be made as well. And for me personally, watching YouTube videos or scrolling through Facebook feeds, while that is a relaxing activity, I don't necessarily think is a very good use of my time, because I think a more meaningful way to relax from homework or research projects or things like that would be reading a book, or calling up a friend, or go walking the dogs, or go walking around in the park, or meditating. I think there are many different ways to relax the brain, but I don't necessarily think that turning your brain into mush by watching YouTube videos that have no big purpose at the end of the day, or you forget after going to sleep, I think there are more meaningful ways to relax. And so I think that is a very bad habit that I'm constantly at struggle with, that I wish I could let go immediately. Mrs. Table Topics Master.
Definitely agree. You'll say yourself, I'm just going to look for 10 minutes, and then 10 minutes turns into 15, 20, 30 minutes go by, and you're like, where did that time go? Sometimes longer. But 30 is all I'm going to admit to. So, all right, who's next? And they're easy questions, so don't be intimidated by it. All right, Jordy. Which one? Do not know. I think there's 2 in there.
Oh, it's 2, okay.
There you go.
Oh, wow. Okay. Fellow Toastmasters and honored guest, the question that I have, or the topic that I have, is what's your favorite family tradition? Well, that varies throughout my life. Christmas, I guess through most of my childhood, was my favorite. And as I got older and not worried about anticipating Santa Claus coming down the chimney, holidays like the 4th of July became a favorite because I was off from school, and then there were barbecues. I know the 4th of July is not barbecues and fun. It's supposed to be the country's celebration of the country's independence, but you know how it's celebrated. And Thanksgiving is also one of my favorites, when we have lunch and dinner with family. It's not so much of a favorite when I'm separated from family, but otherwise it is a favorite. So those are some of my favorite family traditions through the years. Madam Topic Master.
Yeah, holidays are always my favorite too. My family, my cousins lived hours away in Florida, so we would always get to see each other on the holidays. So it was always a special time.
Beach house?
Sometimes, but my Nana's house. Okay, do you want to fit?
If you want to go, I can watch it.
If you want, you can change it. Oh.
Alright, do you need another?
I think I got it.
Okay.
I tried to understand first.
Yep, yes ma'am.
Good evening, Toastmaster and guests. My question is, if you could spend tomorrow doing anything you desire, what would you do? Of course, one answer already in my mind. Eating! Eating! Whatever I like to have. Especially, I'm really focused on my diet, exercise, I'm focused on my health. I try not to eat the sweets, I try not to eat A, B, C, D, E, F, G. But if I'm allowed to do, I like to have everything I love to have. Especially my most favorite sweet, which is tiramisu. It's available downstairs. Every time I come here, tiramisu. Have to say goodbye to them. It's hard for me, but every time I say goodbye to them, I'm proud of myself actually. But if I'm allowed to, I will eat everything, all the tiramisu downstairs, or I'll make by myself because it's cost effective. Plus, second favorite sweets in the world is matcha green tea sweets, such as matcha green tea ice cream, matcha green tea cheesecake, matcha green tea latte, and I would be crazy having those stuff. Thank you.
Okay, I learned something new tonight. We have the same favorite dessert. I love tiramisu so much. And if you need another, just let me know.
This one's it. If you could spend a weekend, hi friends and Toastmaster friends and honored guests. The question is, if you would like to spend a weekend in a place, which would you choose? So that's a good and interesting question. I think the best city is where your home is. You'd like to go spend some time in New York or California, but I would say where I am, that's the best place in the city, where my family is, where I can hang out. An extra weekend, I'll take it. Apart from your work day, like we had a new some HR update that we got some days off, like a week, that extra week, oh, we enjoyed it a lot with families, hang out, the places we wanted to go, Gulfport, the museums, okay, just hang out with kids and spend some extra time with kids and follow up where they stand. So the question, where would you like, which city would you like to spend weekend in? It could be Dallas or anywhere, or where my home is. If I'm in Mobile, I would like to spend the extra weekend in Mobile. Have fun with family, see what's going on, just relax. That's my thought on spending the extra weekend in any city. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Does any of our guests like to give it a try?
I'll try.
They're easy.
Okay.
So what? I'm just kidding.
Thank you. Hi, thank you for having me. Good evening, Toastmaster and Toastmasteries. My question is, what are you afraid of? That's an interesting question for me. I've said twice now. I don't have fears that other people have, maybe, but then my fears are such. I'm not really afraid of heights. I worked in construction for a while, and I'm really comfortable up high. I'm not that afraid of getting up and giving a speech. I've done that a good bit in my career and in being a student in school. But the things that I'm most afraid of are people, I think. Humans are predators. They can be dangerous. I'm not afraid of dogs or cats at all. But the fear of people can really hold me back. And I think that's one of the great things about Toastmasters, is because it can be the hardest thing to have a relationship with someone and get to know someone. But what I've found every time I do it is that it's very rewarding, and we help each other as fellow human beings. We're social creatures. We're meant to be together. So I think organizations like this really drive that home. And I'm really honored to be back a second time. Thank you.
All right. So, greetings, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests. My question is a little more serious. It says, what would be the hardest part of having children? And I think that's something I hadn't put a whole lot of thought into. But if I had to guess, it would probably be knowing how to kind of navigate this modern world. I feel like there's kind of like what Diego mentioned earlier in his speech. There's a lot of things that can, lead people in the wrong direction if you're not careful, especially if you don't have like a mentor that can guide you. I know in my life I've kind of had like mentors come and go. Like I don't think I've had some that are pretty consistent, some that aren't. I know in some ways I've done well, in some ways I haven't. But I know like if it was my responsibility to be a mentor for someone, it would be tough because I would say, well, don't do that. But then at the same time, knowing that's exactly what I do. Knowing I shouldn't do something, but I still do it anyway, and trying to convince someone else not to do it, I think would be the hardest thing. So I hope if that time ever comes for me in my life, I can overcome those things and be a mentor like Diego was referring to earlier. Thank you.
Yay! Round of applause for our guys. Thank you.
Greetings, tabletop members.
Toastmasters.
Oh, I saw tabletop. Greetings, Toastmaster members, and I guess so, including myself. My question is, what 3 things would you like to accomplish in the next 3 years? one goal that I would like to accomplish in the next 3 years would include getting a job within my field. I recently graduated from South Alabama with a degree in music education. So I would like to find a job, so maybe somewhere around here, or possibly in another state, maybe Mississippi, maybe northern part of Florida. That's one goal. The second goal would be to improve on the musical instruments that I do play already. And those include the alto saxophone and the guitar. The guitar is giving me a little bit of trouble at the moment, but the saxophone is something I've played for a good bit of time, seeing as that is what I majored in. And the third goal will probably be getting used to speaking in groups like this. I believe it ties to my first goal, which is music, teaching. Kids can be a little rowdy, so I need to be able to project my voice and get the topics that I need conveyed clearly to my students. Because some of these musical concepts, such as 8th notes, 16th notes, chords, theory in general, can fly over their heads. And yeah, those are my 3 goals that I'd like to accomplish.
I had to take music theory in college, and it was like math. And I was like, this is just supposed to be music and fun. So I'm going to select one since everyone has went, and if we have any time, anyone wants to do another one. Okay? Just so you can swing. Okay. What did you disagree with when you were younger that makes sense now? So when I was younger, my household was a very strict household. We had to have everything clean and tidy, and bedtime, curfew. And at the time, I disagreed with it because when you're younger, you don't like rules and you don't like being told what to do. It may just be the being told what to do more than the actual rules. So I disagreed with that. I would argue, I wouldn't clean my room, I didn't want chores. But now that I'm an adult and I have my own house and my own job and my own responsibilities, I agree with the good habits that having those chores and being told to clean your room and pick up after yourself. I agree with that now because it's good habits to have as an adult. It makes your life easier when you're getting ready for work and you can find the shirt you need or the jacket you need or your keys. So now that I'm older, I can see why my family did that, trying to prepare me to be more successful in life. And also with like bedtimes and curfews, that getting into the habit of going to bed at a consistent time, learning to get up on time is something that I'm still working on. I didn't agree with it when I was younger, but now that I'm older and I struggle with going to sleep at a consistent time, I can now appreciate why I was told to do so when I was a younger self. Thank you. Do we have time for a few more?
2 minutes left.
Yeah, I think one more. I can go again. My fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, the invocation I was given for this table topics was, who is your favorite actor? Man, you know, I think the best actor I can think of is Mark Hamill, who did Luke Skywalker in the Star Wars trilogies. But I don't think he's my favorite actor for that reason. I think he's my favorite actor because if you guys remember in the 90s, there was an animated Batman series, and Mark Hamill voiced the Joker in that entire TV series. And the level of passion and dedication that Mark Hamill gave to the Joker, I feel is very, very competitive, and in many ways can only be matched by, if you guys remember, Heath Ledger's portrayal of the Joker in The Dark Knight. Those two performances really, I think, demonstrate character acting and method acting and, all those fancy words that describe really good actors. And I think an especial appreciation needs to be given to Mark Hamill because he was playing an animated role. And so the only way you can convey emotion and ideas and move the story along as a villain was through his voice. And I remember listening to a few clips and interviews of like the Batman, the animated series, at like how the show was being made. And they did an extended interview with Mark Hamill about how he was testing out different laughs for the Joker. Because he mentioned that before the animated series, Joker was just written with, ha, 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 those kinds of laughs. But Mark saw that he could use laughs as a way to convey particular emotions of the Joker. And so he talked about how he was searching for the right kinds of laughs for the Joker in the TV show. And I think that level of detail, that acknowledgement, that willingness to recognize that there are many ways we can communicate more than just our voice alone, that level of recognizing nonverbal communication, I think really sets Mark Hamill apart from many actors, and in many ways I find him to be a very powerful actor. I guess I deviated from the question because the original question was what is my favorite, and I changed it to who I think is the best, but I don't really think I have a favorite actor. But I do notice actors who do really well in their craft. Back to you, Madam Topics Master.
Alright, well that concludes our table topics for the evening. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I've enjoyed listening to your answers, and I think it's fun when it's on the spot and you don't get the question before. I think it helps us grow. While it's easier to have a question before, I think it helps us grow to see them in the moment and then go from there. So I would like to welcome back up our Toastmaster for the evening.
That was a good table topic session. I like the cards. That was a good way to kind of randomize it, but by having to pick the card yourself, you're a little bit in control, but at the same time, you're not sure how or why you're in control. I like that you mentioned Mark Hamill's Joker because to me, like if I read a comic book, that's the voice I hear. Like that's the Joker's voice.
Not Heath Ledger?
Yeah, not Heath Ledger. It's always
okay.
Mark Hamill. That's what I go to first. Heath Ledger's great, but at the same time, like if I'm reading something, I hear Mark Hamill. All right, so now we will move on to the evaluation portion. So I will call up the general evaluator, which is David.
Thank you, Kyler, for guiding a very productive and streamlined meeting tonight. Before I give my general comments from the meeting, what we will do first is we will hear Maurice give the evaluation for the prepared speech, and then I will do my evaluation, so that way Majid can time me, and then we'll go into hearing all the roles reports from tonight. So first, let's welcome to the lectern our evaluator for tonight, which is Maurice.
At this time, I'll be evaluating Diego's speech on experience as a protege, and this is the project of mentoring. First, I'd like to say he started off the speech great with the example of Oprah Winfrey's definition of a mentor, and then how broad it was, and then how he narrowed it down, his definition of a mentor, and then how he brought up the fact that he hasn't had a very few or no mentors during his course of study. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say that. Mhm.
Yes. So he also brought up challenges of being a mentee or young people needing a mentor. As far as the speech itself, you excelled at vocal volume and clarity, and the speech structure was excellent. You may want to work on, even though, in my opinion, this speech topic didn't really call for it, vocal variety. And that's a challenge. I get that would have been a challenge to try to work vocal variety into that speech. And some of the points, such as clarity, vocal variety, etc. He had a great amount of clarity. I gave him a 4 for that. Vocal variety, gave him a 2, even though it's hard to work in vocal variety in that type of speech. Eye contact, he maintained a decent amount of eye contact. He demonstrated well-timed gestures during most of the speech. The audience was engaged with the speech topic and interested. The speaker displayed a high amount of comfortability. The content was very interesting, and the speaker spoke on future mentor-mentee prospects, and the topic described some aspect of experience mentoring during the completion of the project. So he did describe aspects of mentoring during the speech. And that is the evaluation of Diego's speech.
Thank you, Maurice, for giving me good feedback on my speech. It's always good when people work hard and they start hammering out a main idea for their prepared speeches, that they receive good criticism and feedback on how better to deliver that main idea in the future. So a very important role is the evaluation portion of our prepared speeches. So thank you again for doing that service, Maurice. Now I'll do my short evaluation of the meeting, and then we will move into the roles. It's really great that we started on time. We are still needing to work hard on developing that habit of signing up on Easy Speak and requesting a role and taking on that role and filling it. A big thanks to Cheyenne and Kyler and Carrie for doing the Easy Speak and signing up and registering for roles. Let's keep up that habit, and let's continue to inspire more of our membership to do the same when they come. That was really the 3 main points that I had about our speech. We started off on time. We did a good job on Easy Speak. We need to continue to maintain that habit. And the other great comment I have is it's great that we have a full month lined up of prepared speeches. I don't think if it weren't for the calendar, that type of forward thinking and forward planning would not be happening without that calendar. So I'm very thankful that all of our membership are stepping up to the plate and taking on courage and coming up to the lectern and saying, I'll do a prepared speech on these days. So that's a great habit that we need to keep up as a team in order to meet those development goals that we set out as a club. Okay, now let's hear from Majid, who is our timer tonight.
Hi, hi everyone. So the first prepared topic from Diego was exactly 5 minutes and a few seconds over it, 5 minutes, 40 seconds. And the table topic, Diego won first. He was right at where it says red light, probably 4 minutes. And he went again for the last time. It was 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Morris had 1 minute and 1 minute and 25 seconds. And me and you had almost similar, 1 minute and 15 seconds. David had it for 1 minute 19 seconds. Kyler had 1 minute and 11 seconds. and our visitor, our guest Perch had 1 minute and 40 seconds. Xian had 1 minute and 19 seconds. And the evaluation from Morris was also well within range with the yellow. It was 4 minutes and 46 seconds.
Okay, thanks, Majid. Can you go ahead and share with us the grammarian report too?
Sure. Grammarian, I did not see any improper use of English language. All the sentences were framed right. No, nothing to observe, but the invocation was used once by Diego. That was our word of the day.
Thanks, Majid.
Thank you.
Carrie, can you tell us the counters report?
Yes. First, Majid, your table topic, I heard 5 times. Diego, in the first speak, I heard it once. And your first table topic, I didn't hear anything. And the second table topic, I do use, twice. And Cheyenne, I don't really count it. And Kyler, in your table topic, 3 times, and then 3 times, and Maurice, in the table topic, I didn't hear any use or that was very good. And David, I heard 4 times, Curtis, I didn't hear anything. This was great.
Thanks, Carrie. Feel we gone through all the rules? Yeah, I think that's all the rules. Okay, great. Now I will relinquish the lectern back to our Toastmaster for tonight, Kyla. Let's welcome him back to the lectern.
All right, thank you everyone for having me as your Toastmaster this evening. I believe the last thing that we have is an educational review. If we have one. Do we have anyone have an educational review?
No.
That's fine. All right, well with that, I will relinquish the lectern back to the president.
Thanks, Kyla. Thank you all for participating in this very good meeting of our Toastmasters program tonight. We have great expectations for next week because we will have 2 prepared speeches in mind. And let me see what time it is.
7:31.
Oh boy. Okay, let's take this opportunity to ask for roles for next week. So we have openings for Toastmaster and General Evaluator and Timer, Counter, Grammarian. Are there any takers? Let's go ahead and see who's in mind for doing prepared speeches next week. Do we have volunteers to evaluate Kibram or Majid's speeches next week?
I can go with that.
Excellent. How about you do Kibram?